I love this story. This was reported by the New York Times, and they profiled a farmer by the name of John Harold from Colorado. And he's a farmer who participates in this government program known as H-2A. And what H-2A basically does is it helps farmers use foreign workers whenever they're having a hard time hiring Americans to do farming, harvesting. You get the picture. Well, it turns out that he is having an extremely difficult time hiring Americans to do the farming on his farms and on his crops. And he says that, you know, he will hire Americans to do the work, but it will literally take them 6 hours to decide that they do not want to do the work because it's too difficult.
So let me lay this out a little broader, right? So normally he uses about 50 local guys that are American citizens, right? And those guys come back fairly regularly. But for the great majority of his workers, he uses this program to get foreign workers, right? This year he thinks, hey, you know what? Let me try more local workers because I want to help the local economy. People are jobless, et cetera, and, you know, less immigrants, et cetera, et cetera. So he says, I'm only going to get 2/3 of my workers through this foreign program, and I'm going to get 1/3 local. And as Anna pointed out, within 6 hours, they're like, I'm out of 5,000, man. I didn't know I'd actually pick onions. Yeah, that's what I'm paying you for, to pick onions. And part of the reason he did it, it's not just because he's a good humanitarian, is because even through the program, now he has to pay foreign workers $10.50 an hour,
yes.
And he doesn't like that, and he thinks it's pretty high, and he thinks if I'm paying that much, I might as well get an American citizen to do this, right? Now, this story has a decidedly liberal bent, but it also has a decidedly conservative bent.
All right.
Okay, the liberal bent is, see, we told you that there's a reason why these folks are coming in. And, you know, they say, oh, we don't need no stinking immigrants. What, you want us to pick the corn? We're not going to pick the corn.
Look, I know what some of you are going to say. You're going to say that this is just anecdotal evidence and you can't just focus on one farmer. Well, I have another example, okay? A new study by the University of Georgia found that the state had a shortage of 5,200 farmers this year because of new immigration laws in the state, okay? So they can't find farmers because, look, most Americans don't want to do these jobs. Like, I know that people want to deny that and say, no, we're hardworking and we're willing to do that work. We got to get rid of the immigrants. It's just not the case.
Now, the Georgia case is not anecdotal at all. It's a macro picture of the whole state. You crack down on immigrants, and then all of a sudden, you got a shortage of farm workers, and you can't get the work done. And now the farmers are in a panic, right? And they looked at, for them, this is their livelihood. So if they don't get 1/3 of the crop harvested, they lose 1/3 of their money, and that doesn't mean just 1/3 of their profits. It means 1/3 of their revenue, which might bankrupt them, right? So this is very serious business to them. Now, what's the conservative bent of this? Well, look, honestly, here they're saying, here's some jobs, $10.50, and Americans are like, I don't want to do that job, right? So, and now it's not all Americans, right? But in some of these cases, that's the reality of it. And it is really hard work. And one of the other farmers in the story, not Harold, but the other farmer, said, look, we're not pretending it's an easy job. If it rains, you still got to be out there. If it's really hot, you still got to be out there. We got to pick that corn and we got to pick those onions no matter what happens. It's a tough, tough job. And by the way, it's not just whites and blacks that have grown soft, just to keep it real here. They said most of the American residents who came for that job were Hispanic anyway. Right? So the whites and blacks largely didn't even show up to begin with, right? So the Hispanics, but they're the ones that are like second generation.
Yes.
After 6 hours, they're like, oh, no, we're out of here.